आया क्या मैसेज?
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Please chant after me. Om Sahana Vavatu
Om Sahana Vavatu
Sahanau Bhunaktu
Sahanau Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam Karavavahai
Sahaviryam Karvavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै।
Vishwavahai.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
ॐ
Om
शान्ति शान्ति
Shanti
शान्तिः।
Shanti
Asato ma Sadgamaya
असतो मा सद्गमय
Gamaya
Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya
तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय
Gamaya
Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya.
मृत्यो मा अमृतं गमय।
Right. So we discussed about what Atman is in the last class, right? So the plan is that we will not be starting any new topic today because the next topic is going to be about the world, the creation, manifestation, and all. And anyways, since we are going for a break after this one, this class, so it doesn't make sense for us to start the class. I mean, start a new topic. Also, I think the last class there were a lot of doubts, and we also need to kind of deliberate a bit more into what we have learned in the last class, right? Because it was a kind of a uh, deep truth that we studied in the last class. So it is very important that we understand what we studied before we move on. So if anyone can volunteer in terms of uh, just giving a gist of what we studied during the last session, we can start from there. Anyone wants to go?
No one done homework today. Because of good one, everyone's mind is gone.
I think my key takeaway, Haribhai, was that Atman, Brahman, and Parabrahm are the same. And the example that was given in terms of the torch on the hand, the light coming from the torch on the hand, was like to experience the illumination. We need the object. The object presence is to be there to experience the illumination. Without that, where the light is falling in the darkness, the illumination is not understood or not known. So the object, so that's therefore the manifestations or that bring us the understanding of the ultimate illumination, right?
Okay, so first of all, I think let's break this into two. So we have just seen Atman, right? So we haven't seen whether Atman is
Later.
the Parabrahm or Brahm,
Sure.
right? So that's something that we are going to see, because what Vedanta or Vedas are saying is there is ultimately there is only one, right? And manifestation of that. So now the first part that we have done is we have seen ourselves as an entity, as this body, as this mind, right? So three shariras and all that. So from that standpoint, where who am I as such, right? As an entity, what is this thing called life? So that's all we have seen till now. Now the next sessions, what we'll be doing is we'll be seeing what you just said, right? Whether we are that Parabrahm or not, and then if so, we are seeing everything different here, right? The world is actually diverse. It's not like one thing that is there. So why is that we are seeing all that, right? So first is trying to understand ourselves, and then going to the something what we call as creation or manifestation, and how that has come into being from a Vedic standpoint, right? So let me just share my screen, and then I'll also come to what you just said, Pradeep bhai, in terms of the light and illumination and all that, right? So
Also, we learned about the Atman is somewhere outside our body. That key point, and you ask us to come up with the queries which are not related to the three shariras. Any question which is like outside the this three outside the sharira. So any doubts, and then there are loads of doubts.
yeah, so
No,
we'll go through the doubts. So first of all, I
no.
think for Vikas
Harip,
bhai,
Harip, I have one question as well. I didn't attend the session well. I think I had a call when we were there towards the end. But I think one thing we mentioned about Atman, saying that it is outside, right? But then there was some connection with this Anandmaya Kosh, right? And I didn't understand that part, because in a way we were saying that it is outside, but then Anandmaya Kosh is very much within, like five kosha.
right. So, when we say outside, as I was trying to explain in the last class as well, we should not be searching somewhere outside our body. That's not what it meant, right? So, what it meant was that it is a base, right, for this thing called as life, right? So, the life or these three shariras is just a kind of a manifestation in that supreme. So, it's like it's all pervading. That's what we saw. So, let me share my screen. Let us go through this once more, right? So, we talked about these three shariras, right? So I think there is no doubt about this, because we have clarified many times on what is stula sharira or the gross body, what is sukshma sharira, that is the subtle body, and what is karana sharira, which is the causal body, right? So I think Vikas bhai, it might be something that might be new, right? So I would suggest you to, if you can, go through the previous videos. That would be helpful in understanding this. But nevertheless, if you have any questions, you can ask that, right? So we will try to explain that. So what we are trying to say here is we are trying to go deep inside from one layer to the another in terms of what our real nature is, what I perceive myself as Hari or Vikas, or that person that I am. So this gross body that I see, and this gross body has got all these changes, right? So I have a pre-birth stage, then I was born, then there is a growth stage, then there is a change, then this body after a certain period will get decayed, in the sense that it will grow to the old age and it will gradually die. And then I have this functions within the body, which we call as, which is the function of sukshma sharira, which is for the pancha jnana indriyas: sound, touch, taste, sight, and smell, which we all know as five senses. And then pancha karmendriyas: speech, hands, feet, payu, anas, and upastam, reproductive organs, right? So vag, pani, pada, payu, upastam. Then the pancha pranas, that is prana, apana, vyana, samana, udana, which is like the respiratory system in our body, the evacuation system, the circulatory system, digestion system, and reversal system. Then it also has the functionality of the antakarana, which is like the mana. Mana is the random thoughts, buddhi, the discriminative capability, Chitta, the memory chamber, Ahankara, I, the ego. So this is what constitutes what we know ourselves today as I Hari or I Pradeep, I Vikasa, right? And then we have something called as Karana Sharira. Karana Sharira is a causal body from which this has emerged, and this goes every night in the deep sleep, and also this which is the base for the Stula and Sukshma Sharira. That is, this is constituted by this Sharira came from Panchabhutas. That is Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Bhumi. Right. So the Panchabhuta, and it will go back to the Panchabhutas once we bury this body or cremate this body, right? It is getting absorbed back to the five elements of nature. So this is what, as such, we are. That's what we saw. Then what we saw is also about the five sheets, the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, which is like just connecting another view from another angle, right? Of the same thing that we said. So the Annamaya Kosha is the anatomical layer, the Pranamaya Kosha is the physiological layer, Manomaya is the psychological layer, Vijnanamaya is the intellectual layer, and Anandamaya Kosha is the bliss layer. Now, if we are connecting everything together, this is what we saw. Annamaya is the Stula Sharira, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya is the Sukshma Sharira, and Anandamaya is the Bijavastha. That is, the causal state, which is a deep sleep state, absolute deep sleep, where I don't know that Hari, is sleeping here, or even I don't have any dreams. I don't even know about my existence. So that's the layer. So this even if I am in this layer, that is, the Jagrat layer, I have all these layers within me. So once you go deeper, deeper, deeper inside, all these layers gets dropped in the sense, not literally, one by one. That is, from an experience point of view. So when you are in deep sleep, you are not aware about your, Stula Sharira or Sukshma Sharira, that is, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, or Anandamaya. Now, the most important question was that, where is this thing called as life, or you can call it as atma, life, or consciousness, existence, whatever name that you want to call at this point of time. So that's what we were trying to see during the last class. Now what we said was that, if and this is the logic that we used. So if there is a continuity, that is, which is running through all the three states, that three, because I know that I slept well, even though in deep sleep I was not there, that is Hari myself was not aware about my existence. But when I woke up, I understood that, okay, I slept well. In Jagrat, I know that there is this I, ego, and I'm doing various things, thinking that I am the body, I'm the mind, and I am that personality which I call Hari. In the dream state, that is Swapna state also, I have got various dreams which are connected to my Jagrat state or not connected to my Jagrat state. When I am in that dream state, whenever we are dreaming, we don't understand that we are sleeping in so and so house, so and so room, but we are in a different world, right? And then we remember some of those dreams, right, when we wake up, and then there is this deep sleep state. So there is a continuity, if you look at, between all these three states, because even though I don't understand myself in the deep sleep state, next day morning I am conscious of that, right? So there is a continuity, and that continuity is not something that is called as the ego or the personality I, because I, that Hari, is not being perceived in my deep sleep state. That person who is now sitting and speaking to you, this person I don't know in my dream state. In my dream state, I might be dreaming of myself as some other person, as an example, or in some other place, right? So I am not aware that I am that personality who's like sleeping in a couch in a place or in a bed, right? So that is not there. In dream state, whatever I am dreaming, that person is not in the other two states. So if you look at, none of these that we are experiencing in all the three states, they are exclusive to those states, and it is not getting into the other states. yes, we do have some memory of the dream state, but that dream person is not the person who's sitting here, because the dream person was dreaming of some place. He was going through the emotions and all in that place during that dream, but that person is not the person who's sitting here. And we saw the story of Janaka there, right? So, but who is this? What is that entity that is there in all, that is knowing at least that, all these three states as an experience? So then we saw the consciousness plus objects. So what is consciousness? What is objects? What is called as an experience? So for any experience, we need the experiencer and an object of experience and that act of experiencing. And we saw that, like whenever we are drinking, as an example, even if you are drinking a tea, the tea is the object. And when I'm drinking and I'm taking it inside, that is what is the experiencing factor. And then there is an experiencer there who is unchanging. Because I am not, see, if experiencer was also along with that thing called as experience, then each and every time I'm having an experience, I will die and I'll be reborn. Similarly, because that experience is not a package. There is an experiencer who is experiencing, and the objects and the act of experiencing changes. And this is the same thing that happens for all the three states as well. That is Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. So what we established was that there is a consciousness which is even beyond my personality as such as Hari, because I don't have experienced Hari in my deep sleep state, right? But I am there without having understanding of this personality. So what is that I? And that's what you were asking about, Paresh Bhai, right? Anandamaya Kosha, right? Anandamaya Kosha, what is happening is that I don't experience all this. See, remember, so the my personality, or what I'm saying as Paresh, right, sits here within this group, that is Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira, right? You don't experience of yourself in the Karana Sharira or in the deep sleep state. You are not aware that you are that person, right? But that also, there is something that is experiencing that deep sleep state also, which is not Paresh as such, in the sense that that name given to that body, but something beyond that. Because if you don't experience that, you will not come back, the next day morning and say that I had a very good night's sleep, right? Though I didn't, I slept like a log without even thinking of anything, right? So you can't think of anything, because you are the mind and the body, that pair doesn't have an entry to this layer. But then again, in whatever you are experiencing in Sushupti also, that is also changing, because that, whenever I'm speaking to you or whenever you are listening now, you are not in Sushupti, you are not in deep sleep state. You are in this state. And who understood that? Okay, in deep sleep, I slept well, right? So again, that is changing. I think maybe you might not have heard the entire conversation last week. That's why that doubt is there. So what we are saying is that Sushupti, the life lies here in the Anandamaya Kosha, or the Atman is in Anandamaya Kosha. That's not what we said. What we said was that it is beyond these three states, right? So it is outside of these three states. When I say outside, you should not think that, okay, this is outside of this body, and then and I should search outside. No, because when I say outside, it is, let's change that actually language, right? For not creating any confusion. It is the base for all the three states, right? It is the base. The life is the base for all the three states, and it's very logical, right? So we are experiencing three states. These three states are changing every day, every moment, right? Day in, day out through this. But that thing is actually remaining as is, and we are just calling that Om for that, for the time being, because we understand this symbol Om, right? So we call it as Atman. So what we are saying is that there is this consciousness that is unchanging on all these three states, which is becoming the base for all the three states, which is pervading onto these three states and remaining like apart from these three states. Because if it's an unchanging base on the top of which everything else is changing, right? So you have, if you look at any of these, right, for example, if you look at the Stula Sharira, right, you had your childhood body. For example, there are even people like, the old age guys. So there might be someone who has taken their photos when they are like, 1 years old or 2 years old, and then and during those days the camera and all were like, very rare, right? So then somebody later, at a later point of time, when they are like 50 or 60 years old, when they show back that photo to them, they'll be like, who is this, right? So and then you will have to explain. You will not even remember or think how you look like, right? Or you don't have any perception, and you can see for yourself, right? So the body that I was in when I was like 1 years old, it is not the same, right? So it is changing, and sometimes if I have not seen that together, I would not be even knowing that that is me that I'm seeing in the photo, right? So this body is changing. This Stula Sharira is completely changing. Like all these, it is going through all these states that we see. Again, your mind, we don't have to explain that because it is changing every moment. We don't know what thought will come after like 5 minutes, right? We don't know what it is going to get fascinated about tomorrow morning, right? So today I will have some other interest, tomorrow morning it might change completely, I might get fascinated and I want something else. It is of course changing. So the antakarana and also the bija avastha and the sushupti state, what is happening there is that there is no objects there, right? So it does, as I said, this too doesn't have entry to that state, but that state also is changing whenever you are waking up. Whenever you are in the Jagrat state, you are no longer experiencing this. So but then there is a thread of consciousness that is behind all this, which is illuminating this, and that base is what is called as the Atman, right? Or that is what let's call it by Atman. And we have to know quite a lot about what Atman is, what Satchidananda and all that, right? So our in this text, Shankaracharya calls that as Satchidananda. What is Satchidananda? Sat kalatrebi tishtat yat sat. So he is saying, beyond all the three states and beyond the past, present, and future, what is present? That is what the nature of this Atman is. And then he's saying, what is Chit? Jnana Swarupaha. It is once you understand that consciousness, right? That's the base of everything. It is Jnana. In Vedantic terms, Ajnana and Jnana are used in a very, in-depth, profound manner, in the sense that for Jnana is always associated with the coming from ignorance to light, right? So from ignorance to knowledge. And this state in Vedantic terms is called as ignorance, the entire thing. And knowing this is called as knowledge. That's why he's using that term Jnana Swarupa. And what is this? What is Ananda? Once we know this, you are in a state of eternal bliss. So these are all like, just as on today, when we hear this, these are all just terms to us, right? We don't know whether it is Ananda, whether it is Chet, it is Sat. We will go step by step and look into this. But then, as on today, what we are trying to establish is there is this thread that is common, which is behind these three bodies, right? Which is the base for these three bodies, on top of which this is changing. And that is what we call as life or Atman, the way that you want to call it. Then we saw that what are the attributes of this. So Atman is not part or product of the body. When we say not part or product of the body, what is it? What is meant here is we only understand the body, this body, that is, my body, Hari, and, my mind. That's the level to which we understand. We don't understand beyond that. We don't even understand the Sushupti state. So when we say that it is not part of the product or body, what it means is that it is a base based on which all this is existing. It is of course there, right? But it is outside. When I say outside, again, it is not to be understood like something outside of this body sitting somewhere else, and then like, illumining, like from a power station, the power is getting transferred to a device, not like that. That's not what it is meant. What is meant is it is the base, and Vedanta says it is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, right? So that's how uh, Atman is described, which means that there is nothing like somewhere it is sitting in some corner as a power source and then it is transmitting the power. No, because there is nothing called as Dvaita, that is, duality there. And what does that mean? We will come to that. But for now, let's not think that there is something outside sitting somewhere. That's not what it is meant. It is meant that it is the base. That's what beyond, right? Beyond the three shariras, illumining these three shariras. That's what it is meant when we say not part of the product or the body. At Atman pervades and illumines all three shariras that we already saw, right? So this is the base based on which these three shariras are getting illumined, right? Otherwise, that's a thread, that's a common thread, that's a consciousness, what we call. Atman is not limited by the body, of course not, because, and this is a question that people were asking, um, whether I have got a different Atman and you have got a different Atman, right? And then there is someone else who has got a different Atman. So when we say Atman, we generally confuse ourselves with this layer, Ahankara. All of us have different egos or Ahankara, which is true, right? uh, Hari is not Nilesh, Nilesh is not Pradeep, Pradeep is not Sandeep, right? So all of us are different in that aspect. All of us have different thoughts, different discriminative capacity, different memories, right? So all that. So the changes are happening here, right? And also in the body level, in terms of, I am like slim, I am fat, I am good, I am like old, I have a very good body, I have an athletic body, whatever that is, right? So all that is happening in the sthula sharira and sukshma sharira. And the ahankara is the one who is asking this question, because we only know till that. So we think that and that's the most important aspect of Ahankara. What is the nature of Ahankara? What is the nature of ego? The ego is that capacity within us that creates that selfishness, that discrimination, that I am different and the world is different, right? I am different to the world and I am perceiving the world. I am different to so and so person. I am different to this. So that's the function within us that creates that difference between two persons, between anything that we see and the world outside. The way that we perceive the world is like I and the world, right? So I am there, then the world is there. That's how we perceive the world. So when we perceive the world like that, taking ourselves apart, that function is called as ahankara or the ego. And then when I see that difference between I and the world, then the next step of ahankara is I want that, I want this, I want the other thing to satisfy myself, which is the base of everything that we do, right? When we ask that question whether I have a different atma, it is again a function of this ego, which is asking, okay, I want an atma for myself, right? Because I am different. The logic to that is this: I am perceiving me separate from this world, and I can see all these people different from me, all these animals different from me, all these things different from me. So going by that logic, I should have a separate atma. That is the logic, that is the inherent logic that we are using to say that Atman is different for each and everyone. But what Vedanta is saying is, no, Atman is not different. Ahankara is different. You have these things different for each of this. And if you look at this one also, right, when you come to the Sushupti layer, there is no difference, right? There is no Hari, there is no Pradeep, there is no Paresh. All of us are experiencing the same kind of deep sleep state where we don't know about our name itself, right? So we are all in that state where we get energized for the next day morning. Even in that state, the difference falls off actually, because we are not experiencing it. right? So that question is actually coming from the ego, not from the Atman. Atman, the power that we have, or the life as such that we have, is getting differentiated at the ego layer, at the antakarana layer, but the principle that is the same for each and everything. And we saw the examples of the electricity as such, though it's not a great example, I would say, because Atman is not like electricity. Electric is that power is just a kind of a power without any other attributes. But then Atman is not like that. So we will come to the what the Atman is actually in terms of consciousness. When we look at the entire manifestation, creation, everything, then we will know what Atman actually does, right? But for now, we can take that example. So like, when you are switching, you are plugging in a music system to the electric plug, then the electricity, that power comes out in the form of music. If you are putting a grinding machine, it comes out in the form of the grinding power, or whatever it is, right? That you connect to, but it actually illumines everything, whatever is connected to that. Similarly, the Atman, if it's getting functioned through the body of Hari, it is, or this body, which my parents gave the name Hari, right? Then I speak to you as Hari. When that Atman is getting pervaded through the body of Paresh, then you are sitting there and listening as Paresh. When that Atman is getting illumined through the body of anything, let's say, as an example, a horse, it gets illumined as a horse. A lion, it gets illumined as a lion, right? So that thread of life, or what we call Atman, is the non-changing base on top of which everything else is changing, because this is something that is different for all, right? But this is the static, that is the platform or the base on top of which all this is getting generated. And uh, look at this. So even the Vinashyati part, right? If this drops down, this body drops down also, that is also happening because of the power of this. And the Karana Sharira and the creation manifestation, when we are looking at it, we will look into that. It is getting absorbed here only, in the sense that for the creation also, this is the base. And that's when we come to that conclusion which Pradeep said, in terms of whether it is Atman is the same as Brahman, right? So that we will see. So this is what we saw. It is not limited by the body. Atman is known by the functioning of the three shariras. Yes, of course, because I am speaking now, right? Now you know that I am speaking. There is life. There is a person who you call, or I call Hari, who's sitting and speaking here. If I am dead, as an example, right? I'm sitting there. I can't function, right? So this body is there, but if this body is also not there, as an example, Atman is not going anywhere. Atman is there as the entity, as the base, but you will not know. And that's what we saw through that example of that light on the hand. We will again see that once more, right? So because we are in this layer, because why it is not known, if it's if the three shariras are not getting function, because our knowing capacity is limited through these jnanendriyas, right? Whatever we say we know are known by these five senses: sound, touch, taste, sight, and smell, which is illumined by the Atman, right? So with this ego layer, that if you look at from your perspective, right? If you are hearing what I am telling now, you are perceiving it through these layers, right? Sound, touch, taste. Now you're perceiving through sound, and then you are seeing, so sight and sound, which is part of the Panchajnanendriyas, correct? So again, the perception happens in the Stula and Sukshma Sharira level, right? That's why we only know Atman through, or manifestation of Atman. That is, we know the that electricity is manifesting through the music when we hear the music, right? And it is coming out of the music system. But we can't see electricity as such, the power as such. But we know that if there is no power, that will not function. Exactly like that, because we are trying to understand this power using the faculties of body. And that's why it is you we will not be able to understand that using the faculties of body, because body is functioning using that faculty. It's like this music system trying to understand, okay, what is that powering me? Let me see. But luckily for us, we can understand, and that's the way that Vedanta says how it is. But it's like that case, right? And let me plug out and then let's see what is behind me. Not going to happen, because you are, even your thought process of thinking that, okay, I am the music system and then let me see where the power is coming from, that thought also is illumined by that electricity, right?
Haribai, quick question here. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you said that Atman is like known by the three shariras, right? But is the Sthula and the Sukshma Sharira, the dream state and the Jagrat Avastha, where we have that we can feel it or have that knowledge of it, but in the Karana Sharira, do we still experience or have that how do we know that continuity is maintained in the Karana or the Anandamaya state? Because we when we come back into our normal states, if we have gone to the Karana, how do we know that the continuity was maintained there and it came back?
Okay. So the point is that, first of all, what you are experiencing now, you said that in Stula and Sukshma, I am experiencing, did you say I'm experiencing Atman?
Yes, I thought that's like, Atman, you mentioned that one of the attributes is Atman is known by the functioning of the three Shariras, right? For the two Shariras, the continuity is probably visible because I think we are relating to it in a way because it's either visible or we are experiencing it because of our state,
Okay.
or the object being there or that memory being there in dream, where we have some kind of a relation or experience or continuity is maintained, whereas in the third state there is no object, there is no I, there's no ego in the deep sleep state. How do I know that the Atman is there in the deep sleep state? If it is there
Okay.
in the first two, that
Yeah.
is getting carried over there and it's coming back, then it's coming back.
Okay, good. So, yeah, now I got the question. So the point that you are trying to mention here is, so I know that I am, yeah, I am experiencing the Atman because on these two states, but do we know whether Atman is existing here or not? That's a
Correct.
question, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
So first of all, the question whether you are experiencing Atman in Stula and Sukshma as you see it. And let's be absolutely logical here. You and I don't experience the something called as Atman in when we are here. If we are experiencing in Stula and Sukshma Sharira, when we are in the Jagrat state or Swapna state, then there is no need for the text or debate or anything for that,
Sure.
right? So we are not experiencing. Why? We are experiencing something that is called as Hari or Pradeep, right? And this is functioning through these layers of Sukshma Sharira and Stula Sharira to process something, to do various actions it is doing day in, day out, right? And then we know that we are experiencing something. And how you are saying that Atman is there or life is there, let's use life, not just to confuse, right? How do you think that life is there during Stula and Sukshma Sharira? That is Jagrata and Sapna Avastha, because we are experiencing something.
Correct.
And through that experiences, when the moment we open our eyes till the moment we go to sleep, and even in the Sapna state, we are experiencing something. So we know that because that experiences are there, we know that, okay, I am there. Now the question is, but in Karana Sharira, I don't experience anything. I am in deep sleep state. Correct? And how do I know whether I existed or not? The
Correct.
simple answer to that is, if you were not there, right? the next day morning, you will not be waking up saying that, okay, I had a good night's sleep. What is happening is that, remember, all the objects of experience are vanishing. The ego is vanishing. Nothing is there. But then there is some part, something in you that is waking up and saying that, I feel refreshed. I had a very good night's sleep without disturbing dreams. Correct? If you were not there, right? If let's say, like what you say, so stula and sukshma sharira, then morning you are waking up, evening you are like, at the night you are going to sleep, and next day morning, is it the same me who's getting up, right? Then there will be no continuity, just logic, because then
Got it.
you will be dead and there'll be another person who will be waking up
Got it.
in the
So
morning.
what you are
So
saying
Arif,
is,
I continue.
sorry, I was just saying that if we come back from deep sleep state, I wouldn't be remembering that I am Pradeep or my ego or everything. It would be gone if there was no continuity or there was no Atman carrying through the three stages of the bodies. That's the way to
Yeah.
look at it. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So it's like the vehicle, right? That's why we are saying it's a base on which this is being carried.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
got it
So
now. Yeah,
right. So that's what. So this again is getting manifested the next day morning. Your Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira is getting manifested. It is going to the Karana Sharira, as we have mentioned here, is the Bija Avastha. Getting withdrawn again, you are manifesting out as this ego, as your personality and your Panchajnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, everything. So
got it.
there is that continuity.
Sure.
Right? And now another question that will come up, good that you brought this topic, is what happens after death,
No,
right?
before that,
Oh,
1 minute.
yeah,
If
yeah.
I want to extend this question, which might connect to what you are touching as a death subject as well. तो
Mhm.
how आपने लॉजिक दे दिया कि दिस इज अ लॉजिक कि हम लोग नेक्स्ट डे जाग रहे हैं तो हमें पता है कि हम डीप स्लीप में थे. How you experience that susupti stage, because it's a deep sleep, you can't experience, but through meditation or through any other thing, have you experienced that deep sleep stage to realize that momentum कि जो जो हमारा हु एम आई का जो सब्जेक्ट है, जो क्वेश्चन है, उसको रियलाइज करने के लिए आपने लॉजिक दे दिया. वो लॉजिक मैं मान लिया, लेकिन वो लॉजिक से मेरा मेरा अंदर जाने का रास्ता आगे नहीं बढ़ रहा है. सो हाउ आई either I do meditation or either I follow something else, I don't know, but how I find out that who I am within in that susupti stage or death stage.
Very good. You are now asking about the way or the sadhana that needs to be done to reach this state, right? So now again, let's go logical. First of all, before we move ahead, let's establish this. What you are experiencing in Sushupti state is not this. Let us be clear about it, because Sushupti state, the attributes is that it is not what is it said? Sat is kalatrepi tishtade yada sadat, which means that it is unchanging in all the three states, in all the three kalas, right? Which means that Sushupti state is changing. You are not always in deep sleep state. You have the understanding of the Jagrat state and the Sapna state. So Sushupti is also a state which is getting illumined by this, right? Now, logically, Sandeep bhai, you asked a question. You tell me how we can go to this. What is your thought?
Basically, I feel that somewhere I have to start meditating uh,
No, no,
to the.
let's not talk about the process, right? If we have to reach this, which is your base, what, what is the path? What do you think?
I really don't know, and that is what my search is for long time, because I want to experience that stage, but I don't know how.
Okay,
You
so
you are trying to say,
Sadhana,
Hari bhai,
Hari bhai,
it is a
sadhana.
state without ahankara. So I think if we can overcome ahankara, we can reach that state. Again, I may be just overly simplifying this, but to reach to that state, if we get rid of ahankara, we reach that state. And also one
But reaching
question
that,
I have, but after Sandeep Bhai's question, yeah.
leaving that ahankara means you are living your existence. You are living that mindset of me completely, and that is what I have to figure it out how to come over that complete leave all the gnanendriyas experience, all the karmendriya experience, everything which is there. I have to just completely come over, and then whatever I experience. So that is the main thing. If I don't feel ahankara, I don't have to differentiate anything between myself, my feelings, my body, my kids, my parents, my wealth. Nothing. It's zero. I I want to experience that stage, and I want to go that stage, but without process, how I don't know. That is my search.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I just add to what Jignesh said. I think it's like, the purity of whether it's thoughts, ego, right? Everything else, and to what Sandeep Bhai was saying, that getting rid of all those indriyas, or your experiences. So the purity, if we can attain the purest state, and I think to do that, what exactly we have said is, or looked at, is all the the sthula sharira or the sukshma sharira, and all the indriyas. If we are controlling them, or we are in neutral state, right at the beginning of the session you had mentioned, Haribhai, where if you can get to the neutral state, where you have if there is an action, or good or bad, you are neutral to it, right? The hot or the cold part. Or similarly, if we can purify ourselves to the extent where we have no um, not just materialistic, but no I think, no impact whatsoever. It's
No,
so pure that there is no kind of impact on us. Our soul is so pure, and I think it can happen through this process of elimination of the materialistic world by getting the knowledge, obviously with different routes like meditation or yoga or others, but making our soul pure, so pure that it's not impacted by anything. It is in the purest form. I think that is the real, just thinking that that may be the real way to finding the real truth inside us, or the real atman, what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, any further reflections on this before we?
Not reflection, but I have one question, but I can ask after this. Yeah.
Okay. So let's.
No, so I think Arif, you asked a question. So how do you achieve it? So I think one thing is giving. I think Jignesh Bhai mentioned that uh, leaving the ego, ahankara, and surrender. Basically, that's one thing. And I think you also prompted that you are looking at sadhana route. So I think you become a sadhak and do sadhana, and that's how you attain. That's what I felt like. So I thought I would just mention that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So the way that we need to attain this is, so just let's go by the logic, because that's what we understand, right? So if something is beyond these three shariras, right? Logical way of realizing something that is the base is also to go beyond these three shariras. Logic, correct? So we have to, it is though experiencing this function, or this base is getting manifested through the stula sharira, sukshma sharira, or karana sharira, and we are experiencing whatever we see as the as whatever we are doing on our daily life because of this. And if we want to know this, what is the way? We will have to see or go beyond these three shariras. How do I do that? Now, that's the quest that our rishis took, right? So they, remember, nobody is asking us to discard the world. That we'll come to that in a moment. right? So what we need to do is, first of all, we have everything, this notion that, when we say meditation or when we say sadhana, we have that notion that we will be able to do that and attain that. And why? Because we believe in our power, which is lying here. That is a function of ahankara. When I want to attain that, right? When Hari wants to attain the Brahman or the Atman, to know the Atman, then I am the one who's putting effort. And where am I putting the effort? I am putting the effort within this, right? I am doing the sadhana within this because all I know is this, right? So if we have to go beyond, of course, we will have to go beyond all this three to know the base of existence. And that's why Jignesh Bhai made a very valid point in terms of getting of ahankara. Why we have to, take off ahankara? Because ahankara is the base for any small or big karma action that we do. I have for each and every action that I do, there are hundreds of factors behind them. Like I like this, I don't like this, I want that, I don't want that. Right. So even just buying a coffee from the Costa Coffee or Starbucks, I have got that inherent factors coming in between saying that, okay, I like cappuccino, I like flat white, but I want it with less sugar. I just can put only 1 spoon of sugar. I need some caramel on top. So there are hundreds of things happening, which is as per my desire, my likes, my dislikes, all is sitting here. So when we start the quest, and this is why people get frustrated with the sadhana. People get frustrated with the sadhana or become not really successful in the sadhana because we often, in any other job, in any other, not job, actually action, what we do is that we try to achieve it by putting our efforts in terms of saying that I want this, I like this, and I am going to work for it and conquer. That's what our the way that we have been brought up till now. The moment that we have come to this world, if we want something, cry, get it, or put effort, get it, right? So that's the only way of achieving something that we know of. Right. So here also, we are trying to do the same. With our ahankara, I am deciding, okay, I am going to meditate and I am going to realize, not going to work. Why? Yes, ahankara are all efforts, and that's a very beautiful reflection that is going to come. Whatever we said is logical till now. It is that this is there always, and this is what is changing. This layer of stula, sukshma, and karana, this is what is changing, and this base layer is the same unchanging. So what has to be get rid of? This layer. When you say get rid of, how can we get rid of it? It's not like literally getting rid of this. It is going beyond. How to go beyond? This, first of all, for a sadhak, the first quality that is needed is this perception that I am going to conquer it. I can't conquer it because I am saying from the perspective of ahankara, I am going to achieve it. No, because you are saying that, the it's like the music instrument saying, right? I am going to go beyond and see. So what is needed to get rid of here? Remember, this is always there. This is changing. If we get rid of this, not in literal sense, and why I'm saying this, I'll come to that. If we are able to go beyond, if we are able to get rid of this is not something, and this is something that Vedas says every moment, right? Shunnanti Vishwe Amritasya Putrahat. Vedas call us that, as immortals, right? This is always there. You don't need to achieve this. And this should be the biggest realization or revelation that we are having when we are studying Vedanta. You don't need to realize, put effort and realize something. Not needed, because it is there. It is there always. Even if this body drops off, even if whatever happens, this is the base. It is always there. You don't need to realize, you need to get rid of this. This part. This part, when I say get rid of, go beyond. If you are able to go beyond this, and the action is to say neti neti. You might have heard this term, right? Not this, not this, not this. So the way to do this is, first of all, start from your own body layer, saying that, okay, who am I? And that's an introspection. When we are trying to quieten the mind, how to quieten the mind? Because you will be sitting in the meditation and then we will be closing our eyes. That's the moment when you are open in like doing your actions. You will not feel that much of thoughts coming in. But when you are sitting in meditation, all thoughts will come and hit you. All whatever you might be thinking about somebody, some person who was there in your studying in your class, like 20 years, I mean 50 years back, 40 years back, whatever that is, right? 30 years back. So why all that is coming there? The mind doesn't allow you to go beyond. So what is needed? That questioning is needed. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? So I think I have told this story. Have I said the story of Indra and Virochana?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I don't think so, Arivai. No.
All right. So there was this Indra is of course the king of gods, as we know, and then Virochana is the king of demons, the Rakshasa. So then one day, Brahman, that is Brahma, as we know, and all these stories are told to for us to realize, right? Brahma said that the ultimate achievement that anyone can have is the knowledge of Brahman and realization of Brahman. And knowing yourself, realizing that that's the ultimate goal of anyone. And if you achieve that, there is nothing that is left to be achieved. So you have achieved everything, you have achieved all the powers in the world, you have achieved everything that can be achieved. So then both Indra and Virochana, they were like, okay, if that's the case, then what they want, basically they want to be more powerful as the king of gods, king of demons, and that's what they want, right? So then they both started and they went and saw the Brahman, or let's say Prajapati, because Prajapati is a word used in Vedas. Prajapati, and said that, we want this knowledge. Can you please share that knowledge with us? And can you make us realize whatever you are talking about? So then he said, okay, you be with me, and then you forget that you are the kings. Okay, there'll be no uh, any special priority given to you, nothing. You are just students of me, and then you will have to do whatever I say you to do. Yes, we can. So about 20, 25 years, they sat with him. They did all his puja. I mean, they did all whatever he asked them to do. And then after about this time, Prajapati called both of them, Indra and Virochana. And then he said, now go back and then uh, bring back a pot of water, a big pot of water. And then they brought it. And then look at yourself in that pot of water. Then they looked, each of them looked. What do you see? I see my own reflection. Now go back and then put all the best ornaments that you have, like, all your king attire that you have, the emperor attire and all that, come back in. And then they came back. They saw the same, and they asked, Prajapati asked them to look at the water. They looked at the water and then asked, what are you seeing? We see our own reflection more beautiful and all that. Okay, so whatever you are seeing now, that is Brahman. So both, then they were happy, right? Because they didn't know what Brahman is. So they said, okay, thank you so much. So I think this is what it is. So we are going back. Yes, go back. So then Indra and Virochana both went back. And then while Indra was going to to this world, so then he remembered what Prajapati said. Prajapati said, it is the most powerful thing. It is not changing at all, right? If you achieve this, you don't need anything else to be achieved. So if Prajapati is saying that this body is what needs to be, is what is Brahman, then this body is subject to decay, this body is subject to death. Then how can this be all powerful? How can this be like, is something that needs to be achieved? Or, if maintaining this body is what I need, then what is the point? Right? Because this will go away. So then Prajapati, I mean, Indra went back to Prajapati. Virochana, on the other hand, the demon king, he went to his kingdom and said that I have understood Brahman. You know what is Brahman? Brahman is to maintain your body and enjoy all the pleasures, maintain it in such a manner that you are enjoying it throughout till the end of your life. That's what Prajapati has taught me. And that's why those are called demons, because they didn't introspect. And in a way, we are all demons in if you look at the story, right? Because the term asura itself means that asu indriyeshu ramandeshu idi asura. That is the definition of asura. Asura means if we are just enjoying materialistic pleasures and not searching within, then we are all asuras. That's the literal meaning of the word asura. Indra went back to Prajapati and then asked Prajapati, so if I am this body, then this body gets decayed and it will die. And then how is it that it is Brahman? So it is, I don't think it is Brahman. So then he said, okay, so you have asked that question. Now spend another some more time with me. Then he spent another 20-25 years. And then one day Prajapati said, no, you know what? The dreams that you see in your sleep, right? And whatever dreams that you see, and that seer, and when you are seeing those dreams, that is actually the state of Brahman. And Brahman is illuminating those dreams. Now go back. So Indra went back, and then on his way again, he thought, but dream, he's saying that, okay, the power that is illuminating the dreams is Brahman. But if that is Brahman and I am seeing the dreams, and he said that it's a state which is like, you don't need to achieve anything else. It's all powerful. You will have the bliss in that state, all ananda. But in dream also, I am experiencing sorrow. I am experiencing joy. It is just another, like, waking state where I am experiencing everything, which is also in the dream, though it is short lived. So how can it be not ever changing? So he again went back. Then he asked, then spend some more time with Prajapati. He said some more time, and after that, he said it's a deep sleep state. He went back. Then again, he asked. He when he was going back, he was like, if it's deep sleep state, that is only for a short period. And even, of course, I am not knowing myself. There is something that is a knower. I accept that. But if it's that is only for a short period, how can uh, a state of not knowing anything, a state of complete darkness, a state of, like a comatose state, be a Brahman, right? That's exactly opposite to what he was saying, that it is all powerful. Again, he went back. So then Prajapati, after some time, he said that this enquiry into these three states is, now you will have to inquire beyond this, right? What is illuminating these three states? And through introspection, and I will have to teach you like this because your logic can only take you to this level. Now, what you need to do is to sit and inquire within and go beyond your mind, go beyond your intellect, go beyond these three states. How do you do that? Is to quieten your mind. And what happens when you quieten the mind? Your three states, that is, ahankara will subside, will vanish. The moment the ahankara subsides and you see that apart from ahankara, I, the Indra, as you feel, O king, goes away, then you will see that you are no longer Indra, but even without a name, without a body, without the dream state, without the Jagrat state, without these deep sleep state, you exist. That state, once you have realized that state, that is what is the state of Brahman. And however I try to say it is all powerful, all omnipotent, all omnipresent, the words cannot be able to explain it, because you are only explain with your words, you can only explain for Jagrat state, right? There is limitation to the words. But all the words, all the scriptures, all the Vedas are for you to reach that point of self inquiry beyond these three states. First, you understand the three states, go beyond the three states, and then try to find out what is that period of that state of quietness, which is the base for all these three states. Because what will happen there is the words that are coming out is powered by, illumined by that same consciousness, which is the Atman or Brahman, and it is just a byproduct of that. So you are trying to explain something which is so subtle, so abstract, using words. So the best thing is to go beyond, and that's what the story says. This is just, and then he does that. He does introspection. The best thing is to do introspect, right? Am I this? Am I this? So when the thoughts are coming to you, then to whom these thoughts are coming to? That's the best way, right? If you are really sincere in your approach to understand what Brahman is, you know whom these thoughts are coming to. It is to me. Who's me? Hari. If it's Hari, am I this talking about this body which is in the Jagrat state, or in the Sapna, or in the deep sleep state? If I am in deep sleep state, this Hari is not there. Then where is the base of these thoughts? Right. So like this, you question yourself, question yourself, and then you will see a place, you will understand that the questions will slowly die down, because if you are sincere in your approach, then also you will not attain the Brahman. Right? Again, Brahman is nothing that needs to be attained, it is already there. When your mind, Ahankara, Chitta is all in a quietened state, right? You will see the that illumining consciousness. It's just like, when you are now, you are like, let's say you are taking a jar of water, putting some mud, and then, trying to stir it. It's all stirred. You will not see, and there is a gold coin on beneath it. Once the mud settles down, right, you might see that illumining, that coin inside, because you will not see, because the water is so muddy. The water is clear, you will see. So like that, it's the introspection. That is the first point on how you introspect, right? That is, of course, what Sandeep I said as meditation. If you call that as meditation, that is meditation. And it is not just, and how do you do this? Being a witness of your thoughts, that's the way to whom these thoughts are arising. So all that needs to be done on a step-by-step manner to reach that. Now the second question is on, if I reach that state, then whether I'll be able to maintain this experience, this life, and all that. What is the point? You are still in that state. That is the first point. That's what Vedas is saying, right? You are without that life, without that Atman, you will not be hearing, listening, or doing any of the actions, because that's the only power source that you have. Whether you know or not, that's a different question. Now we are thinking that it is, and this is a very misconception that we have taken everywhere. Like when you say mukti or moksha is something outside of this body after your death, this has been imbibed into our mind so strongly that we think that mukti is only to be attained once this body falls down. Not true. You will still go ahead with all those activities, and you can still do all your duties, but from a different angle, right? Now, why should I do that? Because if I am Brahman and if I am all pervading, what duties I have, then what is my duty towards my wife or daughter, or my parents, or why should I have all this? That's a second question that will obviously come up. Right, for this one, and I'm just conscious of time. We have 10-15 more minutes. Is that fine? Okay. So this one, so there is this question from Ramayana, and let me quote that. So Ramayana, sage Vasishta gives a detailed description of Brahman and how to attain in this text called as Yoga Vasishta. It is the sage Vasishta is explaining the attributes of Brahman, how to attain Brahman to Sri Rama and Lakshmana. And even though Rama is an incarnation of that supreme power, who knows, and we will come to what Ramayana is, and that's a separate topic which we will see in one of the other classes. So after listening to all this, after realizing the Brahman, Rama asked the same question. Now, the consciousness, why do I want to rule the kingdom? I am the, of course, I am the prince. I know that, I'll be the king one day, but why I need to rule? Because, everything is a consciousness. There is no point in doing something. So then Vasishta tells a story to Rama, and he says a story of a king and a queen. So the queen, actually, the king and the queen both were really good in terms of taking care of their citizens and good ruler and all that. And then the queen also was very spiritually inclined, so she went and then she did the tapas in terms of introspection, and then she realized the Brahman. So, and the king and the queen were both getting old, and the king was getting pressurized with all these, as he grew old. So he was getting pressurized with all the daily happenings in the kingdom, and then the way to rule and all that. And then he was like quite coming under pressure. And the queen, on the other hand, actually, she also had a lot of responsibilities, but she was like getting, and the king was saying that, seeing that, she was getting more blissful, more joyous, more cheerful day by day, irrespective of whatever that responsibilities are there. And then the king also thought that, okay, let me give some of my responsibilities to her, and then let her share my responsibilities. And he started giving, and queen was like, yes, she was doing it very cheerfully with more involvement, everything. And then there came a point where the king was like, see, I'm getting too upset about all this. I think there is something beyond in this life rather than just going with this. So what is it? Can I know? Is something that I want to think about. So she said, I mean, he said to the queen that I might go in search of that, and I want to know that. So the queen said, okay, so let me help you with that. And then she gives the Upadesha of the Brahmagyana to the king. So the king was actually stunned. So he asked, like, how did you know all this? It's through introspection, right? If you introspect, you will come to know. And and still the king, he didn't believe. Oh, really? So are you saying that a queen like you, who has got this much of responsibilities, you have already attained that state of samadhi or brahmagyan? It is not possible. So the queen said, it's your choice whether to believe or not, right? And this is how you should attain it. That's what that's the way. So the king said, okay, in that case, let me do one thing. I am going to the forest. I'm giving you the complete rulership, ownership of the kingdom. You rule, and then I will go to the forest. So the king went to the forest, and then the queen became the sole ruler of the empire. King, after quite a long time, he attained through introspection, and then he came back and then he said, I have now attained that. I know what it is. I have now attained that peaceful state, right? But and I know that you are also now in that state, now seeing you. And then the king was also fascinated to see that the kingdom was ruled more perfectly than when he was being ruled, being the king of that particular place, right? So then he asked this question. I have this question that now I know what that samadhi state is. Why we should be doing this? Why how are you cheerful and how are you going on with all the duties? So the queen said, you have attained that state, which is true. But there is one more thing that you need to realize, which is the kingdom that you see, the duties that you see, the whatever the hardships that you think that you are facing are nothing but Brahman itself. Because it is all manifestation. If there is only one, it is all the manifestation of that Brahman, right? There is nothing outside of Brahman. So if I am stationed in that state and I am only taking care of that, whether I am going and sitting in a forest in that state, or whether I am doing my duties as this body, right? It doesn't make any difference from a yogi's level, because when he is doing the duty, he is in that state only, because he doesn't see anything apart from that Brahman. If that is the only base on which everything else is being manifested, and if your real quest is to go beyond those states and see what the real nature is, and if you understand that the real nature is one and the same, then where is the difference? Then how it is being done? So then, as a body, because I am identifying, I have identified myself to this body of Hari or Pradeep, or whoever that is, I do have certain duties associated with the body. It doesn't mean that I am in that state. It doesn't mean there is no selfishness there, and that's a very important point to note. I am not doing my duties to my wife and children because I am selfish to them. It's just my duties. And in my eyes, as a yogi, because for me, Hari, this body itself is not Hari. That's the first point. This body is a manifestation of Brahman. Your body, or let's say the person whom I have not met, is also Brahman. There is no selfishness, greediness that is driving my actions. My actions are driven by the duties, by the Etnya Bhavana. And that is what is Karma Yoga, right? Because in Karma Yoga, Bhagavan says that, and it is very true. If you look at this entire world, everything is being done by Etnya Bhavana, right? That is, idam na mama, I am not doing it for my own benefit. Starting from the sun shining to all the species, if you look at, the nature itself has put that. And humans are the only species, as we know, who's like kind of greedy in terms of whatever it is. If you go and get in front of a lion, and if the lion is having a full stomach, it won't hurt you, right? And we have seen this in documentaries and things like that, right? So a deer might be walking and the lion will be sitting quiet. And if it was human, whether we have like millions of rupees in our or pounds in our bank, then also we'll go and take the 180 million lotto, right? And whether I can get another 180 million or another 10 million, because there is no end to it, correct?
True. Very true.
And that's only in nature for human, not any other species, right? So that we will be doing all that through Etnya Bhavana, that is idam na mama, that concept, with the sense of duty, and not because of greediness, not because of selfishness, right? That's how we will do our duties. And that's how all these rishis, all these great people who has done that duties, right, in terms of any kind of what we call as charity, which is not actually charity, right, have done this through Etnya Bhavana. And that's the true nature of a Karma Yogi. That's what is a Karma Yogi is, right? They are not doing for their own selfishness, but then for some higher goal. So two questions, and the answer is like, first question, how do I realize? Introspect, go beyond, look at your thoughts, ask the question, who is the thinker here, who is having the thoughts, to whom these thoughts comes. Go beyond, then you can't really explain a way that, okay, this is the way, that is, see beyond and introspect. Second, once we realize that state, right, then why should I work? Just for the Yajna Bhavana, right? And it doesn't matter. There are yogis who are sitting in the forest, who are not doing anything. There are yogis who are doing their work. How? For them, their perspective doesn't matter. It is like absolutely whether they are, and that's why Bhagavan calls in the Bhagavad Gita that whenever a yogi is doing all the actions in the world, he's still in a state of inaction. What does it mean? For him, he is always in the state of that Brahman. It's just till the body drops down, he is going on with whatever is the normal karmas. Not for greedy, not for being greedy, and not for selfishness, not for any other reason that I should get something from it. It is just in the form of yajna. That's what it is.
तो पैसा कमाना है कर्म योगा के लिए, और हॉलीडे पे जाना है तो भी कर्म योगा के लिए।
Absolutely.
सब बराबर
See,
है,
nobody
सब ब्रह्मन है।
possible hai, because and if you look at, you will enjoy more. Actually speaking, that's the truth of it. Because when you will not have any apprehensions. If you are going and let's
Pradeep,
say,
you have tasked to earn more for all of us.
Yeah, yeah, I can. So the other day, Hari bhai, sorry to interrupt. The other day, me and Sandeep bhai were going to, I don't know, we went some 1 hour in a car drive. Yeah, we had some work, and there was a cars, all over, and there was traffic jam, right? And the car stopped, and we had to come back to Watford in time. So obviously, सब इंद्रियां जाग गई थी और उत्तेजित हो गए थे, तो संदीप भाई वांटेड टू से समथिंग एंड आई सेड वो भी एक ब्राह्मण है सामने, वो भी एक, तो भी, and we just laughed and we did, the discussion went on, so I was like, so now when you're saying that, right, it's coming back, it's reminding me that everything is, whether your duty, you are carrying on your duty, but everybody in the world, or whatever the way it's formed, is another form of Brahman, your other form or manifestation, right? So it doesn't matter which way you take or what route you take, or ultimately is affecting whether I earn or you earn. It is the same actually, because both are Brahmans are benefiting, or the only one single sort of truth is getting better, right? So but that
yeah,
was like, I just came out like that, so I just related it to this.
that's true. I think you have already started the sadhana, which is good.
Yeah.
Right.
So one question I was thinking, so when does karma yoga end? When does the karma end? Because if we are in current state, if let's say the people who attain the ultimate knowledge, right, they are still performing karma yoga, but when does that end? I know we've got, like, per
Okay,
Vedas,
I
we've
think
got the four
okay.
divisions of, but
So okay, good that you asked a question. There is I need to clarify this. So the karma yoga is not performed after attaining that state. For a yogi, for a real an enlightened being, there is nothing to be done as a karma yoga, right? What I was trying to say is that he is in the state of a karma yogi, a perfect karma yogi,
got
right?
it.
But
Okay.
karma yoga itself is a way to attain the state,
Okay.
right? Why? Because you and me will all understand this intellectually. Okay, all are Brahman, but how do we reach? There are a lot of things. Tomorrow morning, if I say that okay, everything is karma yoga, and then I am not going to do this, that's not possible. Correct? Why was Arjuna asked to fight? And many people ask this question: why was Arjuna asked to fight if everything is Brahman? Because that was the only way that he could have attained Brahman. Because Arjuna is what? Is a warrior. End of the day, right? He had this many times before that he could have attained the Brahman by just doing the tapas, and he did also. If you know the story of Pashupada, how Arjuna got the Pashupadastra, Arjuna did the tapas to Lord Shiva to gain the Pashupadastra. He sat and then he was doing the penance, and then he was trying to chant the name, but it was not clicking because he's basically a warrior. He cannot sit quiet. And then Lord Shiva was actually looking at him, and then it's not that those prayers, he's not going deep inside, reaching him. So what he did was that he Lord Shiva decided to bless Arjuna. And how did he decide to bless? He went on a fight with Arjuna. He came in the form of a hunter, and then he actually disturbed his tapas, and then he aimed at a boar, a wild boar, and then he shot. This hunter shot the wild boar, whereas Arjuna also shot. And then who will shoot it first? Like what we saw in Bahubali movie, right? So then whose arrow struck first? And then that created the dispute, and they started fighting. And at that point, Arjuna's mind became one pointed, concentrated. When he was sitting in the cave, and doing the tapas, puja, his mind didn't become one pointed, concentrated. Each one has got a different way. Your way might be different from my way. You might be a person who is more into karma. I might be a person who's into jnana. Somebody might be a person who's into bhakti. That's why all these various forms are there. And what happened at that point of time, Arjuna had the purna samarpana, as we call it, right? That one pointed, single pointedness of mind in that fighting, and that is what he's brilliant at. That is how he can attain the highest supreme, by getting rid of his thoughts, right? And after once he reached that state of one pointedness, then Lord Shiva appeared, saying that now you have performed your tapas, here is your pashupta. This is what you are, right? So each one has got his way. If Arjuna was asked to do like Krishna, if said that, okay, you leave the war, go to forest, and then you meditate, he would not have been able to. He is a warrior, he is a Yodha, he would have created another battle there, somewhere in the forest. Correct? So each one has got their way. And bhakti for gopis, Uddhava, Krishna said, attain through bhakti yoga. Why? That is their nature. So it all depends, as I said in the first class, it all depends on where you stand. Because you know about yourself, you choose your path according to your mental capacity, according to your temperament, and then go through that path to attain that.
So
Right?
everybody
And
technically will have their own different ways in like of doing of reaching that stage of a karma yogi, right? What that means is, because let's say if I'm good at something, and like we all are good at different things, right? But for us to reach that stage, we need to follow our own path, and that may be different from each other, right? In that sense.
yes, yes. So if you are good at some karma, right, and that's where if you want to attain that, see, there is something called as your vasanas, your tendencies, and you might be understanding everything intellectually, but your desires, your tendencies will pull you back. You will be like, after this class, okay, I understood everything intellectually, but I can't stop it. That's how it will be, right? So that's where a karma yoga comes. So what Bhagavan is saying is, do whatever that you have to do without the desire, right? Do that as puja to me, as yajna bhavana. And that's what Bhagavan did, right? And you might have heard the story of Kaliyan, right? Wherein Bhagavan had danced on the hood of Kaliyan, and then we have heard, right? So I don't have to explain that. And then after that, Kaliyan makes this beautiful statement. Then Bhagavan asks, why are you spitting out this poison and poisoning this Kalindi? So Kaliyan says a beautiful answer. Bhagavan, you gave me poison, right? I can only spit poison. If you have given me Amrit, I would have spitted Amrit, right? I can't help it. That's my nature. I am a snake. So Bhagavan says, yes, I understand that. And I wanted the people who are here to hear this answer from you, because they are thinking that you are one of my bhaktas. I know that. But people have this wrong notion that he's good, he's bad, right? So now go to this place, do this puja, and the way that you have to live. So he prescribes that to Kaliyan. Point is that whatever you are doing, whatever your nature is, do that as a samarpana, right? And there are a lot of stories in Mahabharata itself about a, a butcher who is an enlightened one, who is doing his duty. So I'm just, for the interest of time, because it's already like almost 7:45. I'm not saying, but there are a lot of stories about karma yogis in our scriptures, how to do karma yoga, and whenever we come to that point, I mean, if you are looking at karma yoga as a chapter in Bhagavad Gita, we can of course see that, detail out all that. So this is the way, and this is what Atman is.
I had one open question, but Haribhai, I think with the in the interest of time, I think
No,
because we have next
you
session
were about to
to
ask
ask.
that. So yeah, we will conclude with that one. So I think, yeah, we can quickly look at it. What was the question?
Actually, the question was about the state. So we were talking about the state, which is like a, sukshma karana sharir state. It still has awareness of, so mind is quiet, but rest, whole body function, all senses are still on. Because if someone wakes you up, you know, if there is let's say air condition is on and it's too cool, you know that. So that all is active. I think in that state only the mind settles down, and then it lost that ahankara. Is that true?
Yeah. So in that state, what happens is that you are some external factor is actually pulling you back. That's what you're saying, right? That it's too cold, or it's whatever that is. That reason is. But from an experience point of view, just before you wake up, you don't know. Just before you are being pulled back to that state, you don't know about anything about your mind, your body. You don't even know that we are just sleeping here. Yes. And invariably what happens is that when you are in a deep sleep, absolutely deep sleep state, before you will not understand that. When you are normally coming to the sukshma sharira, which is with the mind and all that, that's when you start to perceive this. Because we have seen people sleeping in the railway platforms and stations where there is quite a lot of noise, right? But they are absolutely sleeping peacefully, right? So yes, that karana sharira, from that journey back to the sukshma and stula, it can happen to various reasons, but then ideally the journey is like karana to sukshma and sukshma to stula. That's how it happens, because otherwise also it's there. If suppose if you are in a state where this chloroform is given to you, or you are in sedation, as an example. I don't know whether anyone has gone through that. So if you will, the moment that you are woken up, you will absolutely feel refreshed. Have you been that, right? So you will feel
Yeah.
absolutely like refreshed, and like you have got of course, if you don't have pain and all that, that's a different story. But suddenly coming back from that state to this state without the dream state, you are like, that's one of these states that I have experienced as very refreshing, because you have been given this sedation, and then you are coming back. Yes, it's there, right? We are again coming back to this loop. These three things is what we understand: karana, sukshma, and stula. This is the circle that we are in every time, and not the base. Once we go to the base, this will be there, but we will be in that state of the existence base. All
Thank
right.
you.
So I think let's then close today. We will have our next session on when uh, Jan 8th, right? After 2 weeks.
Yeah, sounds good, Haribhai.
Uh,
Okay.
one request, Haripai. Probably if we can discuss this slightly a little more on the next session. I have a
Yeah.
few questions, but we'll be here forever. So, um, like move with around like the karma which you're talking about. Like everybody's good at different things, but it was unfair on Kalia because he was just doing the thing he's been made to be done. But then people are not happy about what he was doing. So there's, and then he God asked him to do something else, like do a puja to rectify, but that's how God made him, right? So it was not his inherent fault. But let's try and discuss this a little more.
Yeah, we will. And you're talking
Mm.
about the karma getting dropped. How that will happen. Again, that's something towards the end of the karma yoga that comes automatically. It can be through anything, through God's intervention, through some other thing. Yeah, that's something that we can discuss, of course.
Thanks.
All right. So we will again meet on 8th of January. Okay.
Yeah.
So happy holidays, everyone. So
Thank you. Same to you, Haribhai.
right.
Thank
So
Thank you,
let's
everybody. Thank you all.
okay. Let's close it then. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, one